mathematics, and certainly off limits for geometry, suddenly was centre stage. It was Mandelbrot's book that convinced us that this wasn't just artwork, this was new science in the making. This was a completely new way of looking at the world in which we live that allowed us not just to look at it, not just to measure it, but to do mathematics and thereby understand it in a deeper way than we had before.
As someone who's been working with fractals for 20 years, I'm not going to tell you fractals are cool. I'm going to tell you fractals are useful. And that's what's important to me.
In the 1990s, a Boston radio astronomer named Nathan Cohen used fractal mathematics to make a technological breakthrough in electronic communication. Cohen had a hobby. He was a ham radio operator, but his landlord had a rule against rigging antennas on the building.
I was at an astronomy conference in Hungary, and Dr. Mandelbrot was giving a talk about the large-scale structure of the universe, and reporting how using fractals is a very good way of understanding that kind of structure, which really wowed the entire group of astronomers. He showed several different fractals that I, in my own mind, looked at and said, oh, wouldn't it be funny if you made an antenna out of that shape? I wonder what it would do.
One of the first designs he tried was inspired by one of the 19th century monsters, the snowflake of Helga von Koch.
I thought back to the lecture and said, well, I've got a piece of wire. What happens if I bend it? After I bent the wire, I hooked it up to the cable in my ham radio, and I was quite surprised to see that it worked the first time out of the box. It worked very well. And I discovered that, much of a surprise to me, that I could actually make the antenna much smaller using the fractal design. So it was, frankly, an interesting way to beat a bad rap with the landlord.
Cohen's experiments soon led him to another discovery. Using a fractal design not only made antennas smaller, but enabled them to receive a much wider range of frequencies.
Using fractals, experimentally, I came up with a very wideband antenna, and then I worked backwards and said, why is it working this way? What is it about nature that requires you to use the fractal to get there? The result of that work was a mathematical theorem that showed if you want to get something that works as an antenna over a very wide range of frequencies, you need to have self-similarity. It has to be fractal in its shape to make it work. And that was an exact solution. It wasn't like, oh, here's a way of doing it, and there's a lot of other ways of doing it. It turned out mathematically, we were able to demonstrate that was the only technique you would use to get there.
Cohen made his discovery at a time when cell phone companies were facing a problem. They were offering new features to their customers, like Bluetooth, walkie-talkie, and Wi-Fi, but each of them ran on a separate frequency.
You need to be able to use all those different frequencies and have access to them without 10 stubby antennas sticking out at the same time. The alternative option is you can let your cell phone look like a porcupine, but most people don't want to carry around a porcupine.
Today, fractal antennas are used in tens of millions of cell phones and other wireless communication devices all over the world.
We're going to see over the next 10 to 15 to 20 years that you're going to have to use fractals because it's the only way to get cheaper cost and smaller size for all the complex telecommunication needs